Hey everybody, welcome to our weekly ecosystem office hours call. I am your host Jinx, and we are joined as always by the best and brightest in the Pocket ecosystem. I have a little bit of a throat thing going on today, so hopefully it won't be too bad. We're on a tight timeline with Art, so I'm going to kick it right over to him for protocol updates.
Hey, how's it going? All right, so Fred is at an event, and Olshansky and team are heads down. So I'm going to give kind of a high-level update. Okay, so we are, for Shannon specifically, so load testing is continuously in progress. There were CPU issues, and RAM issues. We fixed those. So the goal is by the end of the week to have the 10 billion test, if not sooner. Olshansky will drop a note when that's done. So we're just kind of pushing through, fixing things. Regarding migration, we did an export this morning and threw it, I think, on alpha or beta, and I was working with Brian around it just to make sure we can see all the various values. We chose a bunch of addresses at random, made sure all the values make sense to what's actually seen on chain. So everything looks great. So we are just prepping the migration to move forward. There were issues with Cosmovisor, as mentioned the other week by Fred. So we've upgraded, pushed out, we've used an upgrade, and things are moving more smoothly now. And that's kind of it on Shannon. So everything is moving forward. Jinx is aware that we're working on a one-pager. He or Olshansky will share it out. That shows where everything is. The goal of that document is to share it with the entire, the entire Pocket ecosystem at all, meaning like investors, former stakeholders, current stakeholders, so on and so forth, given that there's a lot of addresses with a lot of Pocket, explain to everyone how the migration is going to work at a high level. So that's the Shannon piece. For Path, so we deployed Path and moved over a third of our traffic earlier this week in the APAC region, found a couple issues, fixed them, redeployed it. I believe we redeployed in all regions last night, saw that it worked, and then shut it down overnight, made sure Path is still running, but traffic isn't shifted. I think the goal is to move all traffic to go through Path ASAP, just so we're using it under the hood, so we can begin onboarding other customers. So someone's talking, so if you can mute, please. So why is this good? This is good because we're dog fooding
You're right down
in
the
real
street.
time.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm server muting you.
So yeah, so this is great because we're dog fooding the tool that we've been working on for 8 months. We have observability data. That means that we can also bill our customers, so we're not going to skip a beat when it comes to actually being able to continue getting revenue. So that they are calling that out, that this is all great, and this is all working with our existing data pipeline, so no additional work is needed there. Quality of service. So quality of service has been in place, but it required a major refactor about a month ago, and it's basically done, which allows us to add a lot more quality of service modules very quickly for each chain. So Fred created a few tickets earlier in the week to keep track of what's left on the Path repo. So some of these require migrations, and some of these of existing quality of service, and some require net new development. But this should be done very quickly because of the new system that was built purposely to make quality of service development and iteration go quickly. And then there's going to be an easy Docker install made available, so we're working on that as well. In general, on the Grove side, we got our infra costs down from 60K a month to 40, just south of that. We can probably get it below 30K in the next month. So we have been reducing our burn significantly. So there's that, which is fantastic. We are upgraded our pricing to all net new customers 2 weeks ago from $2 per million to $5 per million. We had a few signups for that, and all customers convert to the new $5 per million plan tomorrow at midnight Eastern or UTC time automatically, which is great. So we'll be bringing in more revenue on the Grove side, inclusive of the burn as well. Just a heads up that some customers did tell us the $5 price that we're charging is too high. So we will be losing some traffic on the network. There were another set of customers that said they're interested in Path when we're ready. So we now have at least 4 new potential gateways that are interested to start going live in June. One of them actually already went as far as getting Path up and running, but realized that they can't actually dispatch requests yet. So we told them to hold their horses. So yeah, traffic patterns are going to start shifting kind of wildly tomorrow, assuming that customers who said they're going to stop using us or use us less will actually keep to what they told us over the last couple of weeks. However, there were a bunch of customers that said that the $5 price is fine. So it's gonna, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Beyond that, what's it called? We put together a roadmap that we shared with PNF. I don't think that has been made public yet, but it's a very, very high level roadmap of about a dozen things that we'd like to do on Shannon over the course of the year. I think we can make it public soon. Jinx, you kind of can be the decision maker on that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if you can make it public whenever you want, that would be great. Cool. So there's that. So that's the full update on Shannon and Path. Apologies for talking 200 words per minute here, but just trying to get as much out the door as possible. Next, we ran this morning and last night. Last night I ran the requests on testnet to lower RTTM and the RTTM multiplier to the new values that are going to be commensurate with min equals burn and the $2 per 50 million rate. Ramiro calculated them, put them in a spreadsheet. I think the spreadsheet's public. Anyway, PNF ran those commands this morning on mainnet around 9:30 Eastern, so about 3 hours ago. So everyone who is tracking their earnings should see a 5 to 7x reduction in rewards. And the amount of tokens that are minted between today and next Thursday will be burned next Friday from the DAO treasury. All gateways will be paying the DAO so that basically there's going to be net zero inflation moving forward. And then when we move to Shannon, it will happen in real time as tokens will be burned from app stakes. So yeah, we've basically entered a new era today. Much less inflation and a mint equals burn mentality. So we're going to see how this works out. Lastly, I've been doing a bunch of vibe coding on the side to build a bunch of internal tools, given that we don't have a lot of folks here. So one thing I built that we've needed for a long time is a status page for the network through Grove's APIs. So if you go to status.grove.city, you will see a very quickly put together bare bones status page that shows you the current health report for each of the networks that we support, their latency and the block. You'll see that there's a couple networks that are having issues at the moment, ETHSapolia, OPSapolia, and Radix for whatever reason. So this is kind of like another dashboard for us that we can use on top of the internal dashboards we have. At the same time, these are now relays that are being refreshed on the server side and on client side that Grove is going to be paying for. So this is relays that are going through Grove's app stakes. So Grove is responsible for paying for these, but it gives you a real-time visibility into the network, but it also generates get block requests for every single network we support except Celestia. So real traffic. Yeah, so there's that as well. Okay, I think that's the gist of the update. I'm going to slow down my roll right now. Are there any questions? I have about 10 minutes.
I'm just going to add on while we're in this section. One of the things that we are going to add to the status dashboard, which we will likely duplicate on the Pocket Network domain as well, is the number of chain nodes staked on the network for each of those chains. We expect that to become a comprehensive health dashboard for the entire protocol over time. Any other questions for Art?
Oh yeah, I should mention, we went to ETHDC last week, right? And then we haven't met since then. So Jinx and I and Fred were there. It was good to see each other in person. But we also got connected to Uniswap Foundation, Teller, which is launching a new Cosmos-based chain, StakeDAO, a cool company called Fonbank or Phone Bank, but FONBNK. They provide stablecoin remittances in the global south, and they're very interested in using us. Cadena reached back out to us, and a few others. There's about Flow Network, right? That's the old like Top Shots Doodles thing. They have an EVM, so we got reconnected to them. So it was good. It was a good event. So one other thing that came out of that is on the panel, at the very end of the panel, which was, I forgot who the other participants, exactly which projects they were on, one had recently had an exit. But at the end of the day, it was good to know that everyone there knew who Pocket was and kind of gave a massive shout out to us at the very end of the panel, completely unprompted. So folks are excited for what's going on here. Which was, kind of a morale boost for me personally, and I'm sure Jinx as well. But yeah, that's it. That's like everything I have to dump today.
Yeah, it was really great being in DC and meeting a lot of other folks who were in the space. We definitely found some potential new users of the network there as well, so that was awesome. Evo keeps repeating things here in the chat that indicates a misunderstanding, so let me go ahead and clarify that. Some customers of Grove have said $5 per million relays is too high for what they want to pay for some things. No one is saying that $5 is cheapest rate on the market. The base rate is $250 per million. That's what's getting paid to the protocol, and that is a base rate. It's per chain, and there are variances in that. So no, their retail cost is not the cheapest on the market. The wholesale cost of using the protocol is the cheapest on the market. It's important to make sure that you read things.
Correct. Yeah. In the past, I'll just add up to that. Since we weren't paying the burn for over a year now, or approximately a year, the $2 per million was basically us proxying what we thought a good benchmark was for the network. And now that decision was made for it to be $250, we need to also cover our costs to operate our infrastructure. So when I made the mention that we've cut off our infrastructure by 33%, and we're going to probably get to 50% cut off from where we were in March, that allows us to potentially lower our prices in the future or keep them where they are, assuming we are able to retain or grow our customers and just have a wider margin, allowing us to be in the profitable zone much sooner, much faster.
Nice. Cool. And again, on the testnet with some state migration, Olshansky mentioned to me as well yesterday, if you are a node runner running in Shannon testnet, which you should be this close to go live, please make sure that you are also testing the claim Morse functions through there to do state verification. That's going to be important for the tooling that the migration working group is working on from a UI perspective. So especially folks in the migration working group. Also, I'll repeat once again, we did apply the governance transaction this morning to enable the Shannon era tokenomics. Mint versus burn is now equal. So that means that we will see a rapid flattening out of the total supply as that shows up on Pocket.money. Looking very much forward to seeing that. And I think we've also, already seen some positive market reinforcement as people begin to understand that we are moving towards a deeply fundamentals-driven protocol. The panel that I was on this morning with EA Network was specifically about that. So if you didn't get to hear it live, take a listen back through. We are seeing in general a movement towards fundamentals as a lot of the casino plays tap out and the market moves through its cycles. This is, I think, ideal for an ideal time for our strategy of being heavily fundamentals focused to be moving forward. We are working on increased documentation and all the rest of that. As Art mentioned, we're getting close to doing our full 10 billion day load test on the network. And once we've passed that threshold, I believe that's when Olshansky said they will be ready to launch the actual, or to set the actual final cutover date. So we are waiting eagerly for that. We still do have some peripherals upgrades that need to be finished. Raid Guild is working hard and fast on some of the specifics and edge cases associated with the bridges to make sure that our multi-chain support continues unabated. And the actual UI for folks to be able to use to convert their wallets is still in progress as well. So we'll publish that out as soon as we have the final places for all that stuff to happen. Do we have anything else here? I don't think that we do. I think that's pretty much everything that's on the main agenda for today. So we'll go ahead and open it up from there. Would Grove be scraping Pocket Scan could display information like above? No, I don't think we'd be scraping Pocket Scan. Again, this is a tool that we want to have running in a few places. And Ramiro mentioned that there is some of that information present on Pocket Scan already. We're talking about a very simple network status / network health page. I don't think that that would in any way replace the robust and comprehensive dashboard that is Pocket Scan. I really specifically want a quick one-pager that shows relative latency across chains in all regions and also the number of chains staked in that region in order to help coordinate where people are staking and what they're staking on. So I don't think that in any way would replace Pocket Scan functionality. And no, it wouldn't be scraping from Pocket Scan. That should be on-chain calls. Previous to that, will cutting the infrastructure cost deteriorate service quality? I'm confident that with the QoS requirements that Grove has, that they have taken that into account.
No, that is something we are like extremely well seasoned on at this point between the different server sizes. Also, Google tends to stop supporting specific boxes and then makes more efficient ones. And what we're doing is moving from one style of box to another, which will lower our costs. Yep. That's what's like the thing that's left to do.
Ramiro says, we have a very easy protocol that they can implement and feed the data. We need to display their data. I guess that if they have a live page now, it won't cost them much to provide the data we need. Yeah, I would expect the same. Is Olshansky planning Shannon security testing? Olshansky has spoken about this multiple times. We do seem to see a lot of the same questions pop up from you. He actually spoke about it the last time that he was on this call, and security testing is an ongoing process. It's not any one-off kind of thing. Other questions? Oh, sorry, Tracy said she's got updates on F-Chain. So, Tracy, mic's yours.
Hey, so I've been working on the F-Chain proposal, and then the F-Chain packages is what we're calling them now. So if I haven't reached out to you and you're running or interested in running F-Chains, let me know. I have a couple meetings this week, and I'd like to get everyone on board, whoever wants to. So thank you.
Yeah, and in the past, F-Chains was based on bidding auction style against being able to provide certain services and administered by Grove. We want to make F-Chains 2, as we're calling it, a broad ecosystem-wide initiative that has pre-planned packages of specific levels of chain support in order to make sure that there is a broad coverage across the ecosystem. So if you have some capacity, if you're interested in being part of ecosystem management and network management, and you would like to make a substantive contribution through your participation in the network, then let us know. Other questions? Well, y'all are making it easy on me for having a sore throat.
Yeah, sorry, this is a quick question to Ramiro. After today, we are gonna be experience like how much percentage of the actual rewards that we're perceiving right now are being downgraded?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't get it.
Yeah, like how much of the percentage and an estimate of the reward reduction are we gonna be perceiving after today, after the transaction is getting?
So I think that Art already said that it's around 5 to 7x reduction in total minting. So that should be the reduction in rewards. But there is also the factor that also Arthur mentioned, that is that some of their clients are saying that they are not going to send any more traffic due to their price change. So we could expect a reduction in the total traffic. And I don't know how to estimate that actually. So at least 5, that's by calculations, it should be 5, but I think that Arthur said from 5 to 7 to this traffic reduction.
So we could expect like 50% less rewards of what we're perceiving now.
Yeah, more, I think. This was discussing the tokenomics of Shannon, and yeah, it will be a kind of 5x at least. So it will be like 20% of what you are winning today if you keep everything the same. I mean, if you are a node runner, sorry, I don't know who you are, but if you are in the node running business, one parameter that you can change is the rewards share that you are giving to your clients. Most people are around 25% for the node runner and 75% for the one owning the stake. That parameter should be changed from Shannon tokenomics onward to be more like the opposite. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to keep things running when you can extract 75% as winnings from a simple relay run. So,
And to add on to that, given that we have path integrations waiting to go live based on the Shannon cutover, we do expect that the drop in traffic is fairly temporary, and as the new path integrations come on board, traffic should begin increasing again.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, I just have some concern because I'm a node runner. I know we talked about this before, that the reduction like will be very significant in a way that could kill our business. I know that we are like exploring how we can keep the price up. But honestly, it's aggressive reduction. So we'll see how it's gonna turn out. But in order to make it sustainable, I think it will be good to see how the next days things are changing.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why our F-Chains 2 package is so aggressive, because it makes use of staking at an extremely high rev share for the node runners as part of that equation.
yeah, let me get a question in the chat that says that inverting this rev share from 25% to node runners, that means 25% to pay the infra and 75% as winnings, into 75% to pay the infra and 25% winnings. I think that the opposite is a risk. I mean, today we are paying with only 25% of each relay on average the actual infrastructure of the network. how can that be normal in anyone's mind? I mean, it's like you're having 75% earnings on selling a relay. It's too high for what we are trying to achieve here, and what we are trying to achieve is a cheap service, and that should be profitable by volume, no but by inflating a token. So it's a step, it's a step that we need to do towards maturity. And what could happen is that capital will flee from node running, and we expect that we can keep that capital into validators that are other kind of business. But the running of a node should be should not. I mean, we cannot sustain that kind of earnings by simply running a node and taking 75% as winning. In my mind, it won't work. And I think it hasn't worked for POKT so far.
Yep.
I just like to piggyback off of that. I see your comment, Evo Sun, as well. If we take a step back and we look at the entire network as a whole, and we want to think long term, we want to make sure that the protocol lasts and is stable. This is something that has to be done. There was so much inflation for so long. Again, my opinion completely apart from everyone else, potentially, is that a lot of the inflation has led us to where we are with the price. So I'm not saying that this is guaranteed to change the price, but this is the next step in creating a value token, something that provides value and people get rewards for it. Yes, the rewards are lower, but we have to be at a mint equals burn at this point. We just have to, in order to make everything make sense long term.
And the fact is, it is fundamentally going to be easier to 5x the total value than it is to continue a high print with high inflation, which just adds to an increasing cycle of decrease of value on the network. We can't outprint the devaluation of the token based on total inflation. And that's just a mathematical reality that we've seen play out over the last 2 years. Getting to a place where supply is effectively capped and then eventually deflationary means that the value to the network can be returned and begin to grow once again. So, getting to sustainable long-term tokenomics, it was absolutely critical. But the other half of that equation from a fundamentals perspective is there should be a pure pass-through transaction from users of the network to suppliers of the network. That is basic capitalism 101. And so that means simply that the cost side should be paid directly to the supply side. And that in itself is a negotiation between users of the network and suppliers on the network. Suppliers who are able and willing to supply that service to demanders who are able and willing to pay that amount for the service being provided is like a basic functional economy. That's what it comes down to with sustainability. Evo Sun Other says network will not be stable when half of the stake nodes get unstaked. That is a huge risk for the network stability, what you guys are saying right now. Yeah, sorry, man. You are just wildly uneducated about the capacity of the network at large. We could have more than half of the network unstake and not see any shakiness whatsoever in the ability of the network to provide it. And the fact is, the remaining node runners who stayed staked would be making more at that point. So, no, you are just completely fundamentally wrong on that statement. But that's also why we are looking to have easy snapshot and status pages so that node runners can easily see where there's a need for additional distribution and where to stake their nodes to get max efficiency. And we certainly don't want node runners to run, but we would always like to have 4 to 5x of max capacity on the supply side. But there just has to be somebody who's paying $1 and someone who's providing a product for $1, and that's the transaction. That's, the fundamentals of capitalism. The network has been heavily subsidized for a long time, and Uber, was heavily funded by VC dollars for a long time to build up that marketplace of the same exact thing, supply and demand on the, drivers versus people who want rides side. But at some point, the business has to pay for itself, and we've reached that point. Other questions? That's also, I'll just fill in the gap while people are typing. That's also why a big focus of the foundation strategy and moving forward, and in partnership with Grove, who provides a lot of the expertise to be able to help with this strategy, is horizontal expansion of path users. Path users are fundamentally retail priced users. The vast majority of them aren't going to get any kind of rebate. They won't hit volumes high enough to achieve a rebate, which I think the first level kicks in around 100 million relays a day. So getting hundreds of path users integrated to use the network directly and with on-chain burning, since they're staking for throughput, that's what the network was designed for. And with Shannon, we're finally able to actually accomplish that. So our ability to drive new adoption and greater traffic growth won't be limited to trying to onboard massive high demand gateways. It's just going to be get every single app that needs data of this sort plugged directly into the network. And that's really like where the long-term strategy is. That's what Pocket was built for since the very beginning. Miss Kitty asked, will the servicer validator rewards split change for Shannon? Not initially. We do have some proposals around that with some math out there. That's the kind of thing that I would like to put out to the big brains of everyone in the DAO to chew on. I know that my initial numbers that I first started chewing on back like a year and a half, 2 years ago, weren't great. They needed some adjustment. I got a bunch of feedback from folks in the community. I would like to put that back out again, maybe sometime in June, and get a DAO feedback and approval on that. I definitely very much want to shift the ratio heavily in favor of validators. How much work has been left prior to Shannon launch? Will Shannon launch mid-month as announced? Honestly, that's not the kind of thing that we can answer on a verbal call, but literally everything is out there and broadcasts on a very regular basis. You can go look at the GitHub. You can look at updates in the Discord. There's a little line item tasks that can give you a very detailed perspective of that.
I got a quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, has been any poll or research with the users regarding the new tokenomics? Like, will you be happy to receive X, Y, or % of the rewards, so we can maybe assure that they don't unstake or they keep staking, just to make sure that we are having enough staking Pocket after this change?
Yeah, so there's two sides of that. One, a number of experiments on staking prices have been run over the course of the last 2 years. Like some people have continuously stuck around the 20 to 25% level. Some have gone to as high as 50%. and at least one, and I think two, have gone as high as 80%, and they didn't effectively have any significant loss in the amount of tokens staked. You know, a 20 to 30% yield still far exceeds the vast majority of a lot of, you know, longer term stable yield options out there. So part of the you know, the mindset around node running within the ecosystem for a long time has been take the smallest fractional amount possible, but that doesn't really, you know, compare itself well to the vast majority of these types of staking instruments out there. You know, I mean, Ethereum, you are not going to be making 20%, right? You're going to be making like 2%. So I think that there is significant room for shift within the marketplace, and anyone who isn't shifting their strategy to go to account for that is probably on a short track to not being sustainable over the long term. That's part of the reason why with F-Chains 2 and the programs that the foundation is setting up, our lowest rev share is 50%, and on lower traffic chains, we're just doing a straight 100% rev share. It goes all entirely to the servicer. So, you know, like that's part of the mindset that is going to have to change into the network, trying to compete for the smallest rev share amount possible. And that needs to grow and adjust along with the maturity phase of the network. For anyone who was around at the beginning, if you remember the tenthening, right, the whole concept was once we hit a certain level of inflation, we were supposed to drop to 1/10 of the mint. And then once we hit the second stage of that amount of inflation, we were supposed to drop to 1/10 of that. So essentially 1% of the original inflationary numbers. We took a long way around to get there, but basically that's where we're at. And the marketplace has to adjust to account for that. I do think that with the foundation taking a very significant active role in staking among service providers within the network with exceedingly high rev shares, that's probably going to have a lot of node runners thinking seriously about how much do they want to serve customers who are demanding a 20% rev share when you can just easily participate in the structured packages of the foundation and get far higher than that. So, you know, that's an open conversation to be had, and one I take seriously. I know that node runners are looking at this and going, hell, we're going to get squeezed pretty hard, but that has to account for it being an actual sustainable business where supply and demand are both priced in accordance with each other.
Yeah, 100%. That will be good to have since I know it's both parts, right? They adapt. The demand side also has a burn function. It will be good to discuss as well. Because
yeah, if you haven't talked to Tracy yet, I would very much, you know, she's been trying to chase node runners down and get everybody on a call so we can talk about, you know, the extended long run strategy around that. I talk with her soon, and we will also organize some group conversations with node runners around that as well. We want the foundation to very actively participate in node running to help sustain the supply side and to make sure that we're covering all the networks that we actually advertise as well. We also have some ideas around reducing costs for chains that we support that have exceedingly low traffic. We're working on a stake on demand program for those chains so that there's a very high RTTM for burst traffic through hardly ever trafficked chains in order to, you know, support fast spin up. Like if, you know, let's say Jinx chain knows that there's a big ass airdrop this weekend and, you know, need support for that from an RPC perspective, I could agree to pay $5 per million relays for all of my network overflow, and you would get an RTTM for the duration of that, which was equal to $5 per million relays instead of $250. There are a lot of things that I think we can do with the economics to really tie what we should be seeing, right? I mean, there's no business out there that doesn't price according to demand for their supply. And we can use all of those same market mechanics to make sure that the supply side is able to take advantage of all those things and also reduce their costs in the meantime.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, Leroy said, to piggyback on 10 billion load test day, in the event there is rapid adoption, will network be stable enough to support above 10 billion relays per day without incident? I can say with pretty strong confidence that the node runners that we have operating in this system, I mean, I've talked to a lot of folks. Some of the bare metal folks are running under capacity by quite a bit. And some of the larger folks who are running in the cloud have the ability to spin out pretty quickly on the cloud. And there's, little tricks that you can do, like cloning data stores from one to another, as opposed to doing full resyncs, and, things along that line that allow you to spin up nodes pretty quickly. And we may also even be able to pull resources on chain syncing and such from the foundation itself. We've run things like in storage with like very, very high parallelization, 256 channels per file or whatever, that allow us to respond to that very quickly. So the protocol itself, yes, I absolutely am 100% confident in its ability to go above 10 billion relays per day quickly. But that also means that the node runners themselves are meeting that demand. So we will be continuing to work on optimization and rapid deployment mechanisms to make sure that we can respond very quickly should that need to be the case. Has anyone ever performed a research on Morse TAM versus Shannon TAM? What are the rough estimations? Yes, that research has been extensively published and discussed in the forum, where all of the research is published, and it is easily 10x the total addressable market between Morse and Shannon. The fundamental difference in moving beyond RPC into all open data means that the 100x sized data market for public APIs all becomes accessible to Pocket. And with the relay mining functionality that actually provides, that incentivizes people to share data to the network, then anyone who's already running an open data source has an actual strong incentive to run a Pocket node next to it to be able to serve that data to the network. So yes, significantly large, and there is a fair amount of research that has been published on the forum to show that those scales. When Moon, I'm hoping later this afternoon. Does Shannon tokenomics still include source rewards to attract new players and new market? Is that relay mining you just mentioned? Yes, it is. Relay mining is the mechanism by which the source, or what we're calling data owners, get paid. That is currently 3% of the emissions. And we're typing. Will 3% be changed if identified as a bottleneck to exponential growth? I don't know how it would be a bottleneck, but again, all network parameters are changeable. And that's, we have the starting set of tokenomics that we are going into Shannon with. Any aspect of that which, causes some particular issue can be adjusted by the DAO over time. One of the things that we'll be doing after we get through Shannon and make sure everything is up and launched is putting up a new slate of directors for confirmation and election by the DAO. And in the course of that period of time between June and September, I expect there will be a number of feedback mechanisms and proposals based on identifying places where the tokenomics need to be adjusted to support whatever reason. Do we have a monthly estimate of the potential relays increasement? That's, I mean, the potential is a hell of a lot. Do we have a monthly estimation of the potential relays increasement? That's like, if you're asking me for how much I think they could increase monthly, I can certainly give you that. I have some opinions on it, but is there an algorithmic or quantifiable formula that we could generate based on that? No, I definitely not. I would say that as the path users come online, starting probably mid to late June, we should see a little initial hockey stick of growth. I think at least a few 100 million relays a day. And then as we prove out what Shannon is and what it's capable of doing, especially solving some of the QoS issues that plagued us in Morse. I know that a number of previous customers or existing customers who are only using us for spillover have indicated that they would be willing to send a whole lot more new traffic through. And as we start to get more heavily into the open data aspect beyond just RPC, because we haven't even touched that at all yet. And there are so many use cases that's possible for Tor nodes and signal relay proxies and like 100 different types of open data that gets used a bunch. So I expect, personally, I expect an initial hockey stick probably, halfway to late June as path users become fully onboarded, or even through the entire month of June as path users start coming online. And then, a slow, stable growth over the next couple of months as people start to test it out and make sure that it's good. I would expect the next big burst, in that testing period of time. So probably late July, early August. And then as a lot of our PR and marketing gets out there about the ability to directly permissionlessly interface with the network, and as our tooling gets polished, because we want to make sure that we have amazingly simple and easy tooling to onboard these users, I would expect another big burst of growth, starting in September or so. That would be probably another hockey stick. And with folks like DevDAO, for instance, the project that they're working on and serving engineers directly and speaking to engineers, like there is a massive existing marketplace that we've never terribly done well with. DevRel for Pocket has always been really weak, all things considered. So having an actual engineering group who is speaking to devs and demonstrating what's possible with the protocol is, by itself worth all of our marketing efforts combined, because they are users who speak to other users of their type. We're super excited about what they're working on. Was there an interest to run Tor nodes, or was it just a test to see if it flows through the network successfully? I have a whole concept that I've been working on for some time, and that you can probably find me out there talking about, which is the free speech tech stack. And it is essentially, how do you build applications that are uncensorable, that are unstoppable, that don't rely on centralized choke points or single points of failure, and Tor nodes are part of that. So other developers who have the same principles and interests that I do are very much having conversations about how those kinds of things work. Signal proxy relays is another one that's in there. Art has run tests on both of those in Shannon testnet, and we have successfully been able to relay that kind of data. And those are just two examples of a number of types of non-RPC data that is being supported. I think, and I've got another little project that we've been poking at, which is like a literal pure local storage only chat client that just uses Pockets to relay messages back and forth. Crypto, that might be something we should talk about. But yeah, there is an expectation of those kinds of apps being deployed on the network. Pocket is the only provider that can service that sort of private open data transfer. And so a lot more of the folks who are interested in these kinds of conversations and this kind of technology are talking about Pocket now. And it's just relatively cheap. I mean, if you look at like the cost of premium privacy services, it's way less or way more than $250 per million relays. Yeah, essentially crypto, that would just be an adaptation of Path with a chat client front end and local storage only, no actual network storage of any of the messages sent back and forth. And then the local storage would use maybe something like partial or fully homomorphic encryption. I think you would really dig the idea. All right, we are at 12:55, so I think we'll call it at that point. As always, appreciate everyone for coming along and joining our weekly ecosystem calls. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, feel free to come in and ask questions directly. We have literally all of the principles in the ecosystem here for an hour every Wednesday at noon EST. But for the rest of y'all, I'll see you next week. Same time, same channel.